Hello everyone and welcome back. Today's an exciting day as we're going to be wrapping up the 60 centimeter shallow build by flooding it, adding equipment, botanicals, and hopefully even the fish. So let's go ahead and get started. Right now you can see that I've been keeping this sealed up as much as possible to retain the humidity. In fact, you can see some of it on the front there. I have a glass lid on it, and then I've used just regular saran wrap to cover the wider edges while still keeping a bit of a gap here so that air exchange can happen. If you do seal it up completely, sometimes you can experience mold. So I think by having a little bit of airflow, it'll really help out. So everything is growing quite well. We have all the different plants, and if you haven't seen the build yet, I'll link it in this video. But everything is growing really well. The only one that's maybe struggling a little bit is the dwarf sage, which is just right there. Ooh. Which is right there. I'm not too worried about it. Dwarf sage is more or less a weed, so it'll bounce back and grow really well. But the plan is to have botanicals throughout the front, a light amount, not too heavy. We'll have a hang on back filter and a heater in here as well. So the first thing I'm going to do is just remove the lid and flood it. Evaporation is an issue here. So there it is from the front. Again, I'm really happy on how it's turned out. We do have a little bit of green algae coming up here on the sand, so I will have to watch those areas once it's all flooded. But right now the light is at 100% for over 12 hours. So because there was a bit of water sitting in the front, I'm not totally surprised there's some algae. But once it's flooded, obviously I'll reduce the light intensity as everything acclimates and converts to its submerged form. We'll give it some time, of course. Hey, bud. You sleep okay?
Yeah.
Hungry?
Yeah.
Okay, because then I can make breakfast.
What?
I can make breakfast.
Eggs.
Do you want eggs?
Sure.
Hash browns?
Yes, please. Oh, if I want to put water in this. Oh, that's scary.
Well, I gotta do it slow so it doesn't mess up the sand. All right, so the flooding is complete without much of an issue. It's looking pretty good. So we still got some sand residue on the top that float up, but those will sink down in no time. What we're gonna do now is go ahead and prepare the botanicals, because I do want to get those in before I get the equipment in. But after that, we'll get all the equipment set up. Okay, so the main botanicals we're gonna be using are these live oak leaves. We're going to be using the ever faithful almond leaf. And then we're also going to be taking twigs like this to put in there as well, but much smaller. Now to prepare all of these, it's pretty straightforward. I'm going to cut them up into smaller pieces because I don't want to ruin the scale of this with giant leaves. So I'm going to be cutting these up in small pieces. I'm going to boil them for about 10 to 30 minutes, and I'm going to let them sit until they cool. And then all we'll do then is just put it in there once it's all nice and soaked and go from there. So it's actually a few days later since we flooded the aquarium, and so far everything is going okay. There is a little bit of residue at the top of the water because obviously it hasn't been moving since there's no filter on it yet. But we took this time to clean the filter that we're going to be using, and now we'll go ahead and install it and make sure there's some water flow going. The aquarium itself is looking okay. Everything seems to be transitioning fine. There's a few leaves on the crypt parva that seem to be melting, and a little bit on the hair grass in one particular area, but already I can see runners and adjustments happening without severe melt, which sometimes can happen. So what we'll do now is we'll get the equipment installed and go from there.
So we're going to be using a hang-on back filter. This is the Aquaclear 20. And hopefully it'll fit fine here. Perfect. And it's still got some residue from the last setup it was on. I just forgot the brush, or I lost the brush to use to clean the inside, but it's okay for now. We just need to get this water flowing. And I thought I had the correct sponges for it, but the ones that I have is actually a bit bigger. So I'm just gonna have to cut it to size here. Now, because we want this aquarium to cycle immediately, we are gonna be using pre-existing media from one of my other hang-on back filters. And I will add more media later on, but for now, one bag of that and then the sponge should be enough. All right, it's plugged in and running. We just need to prime it now. All right, we have filtration. Now, I'm thinking of putting it the long way. And I do have an Aquaclear 30, which is what I would want to use for this size. I just can't find it. But it's okay for now. I'll probably just put it on that side though. I really wanted to avoid having anything in the way there, but I think having this filter going the long side will be beneficial. Yeah, why don't we do that? Actually, I changed my mind. I didn't like the way that it looked next to the Wabikusa, so we're just gonna leave it there. The plan is to get a canister filter for this one anyways, so I think this will be just fine for now. All right, now that the filter is in, the biological media that's in there that's already cycled is going to start spreading some of that beneficial bacteria throughout the entire aquarium. We are going to see a bit of a cloudy phase at this point, just because some of that bacteria is going to die off. It just happens whenever you use pre-cycled media. And so it's going to get a little bit cloudier than this, but that's nothing a water change can't fix. We're going to be monitoring the parameters closely, and that's to make sure that as the beneficial bacteria takes hold, that we're not having any ammonia spikes as well. We are now, though, going to be adding the botanicals, which I'm really excited about. I really wanted to get the filter in first because I wanted to see if it was going to blow around the botanicals that we're going to use, mostly just leaf litter and twigs, but it's going to add a lot of detail to the front here. So we're going to do that now. So these are the botanicals that we're going to be using. It's a mixture of cut up leaf litter and these twigs. Now, I did boil and pre-soak everything, but since it has been a few days, these twigs might float. So we'll see. Worst case scenario, I can always take them out and boil them once more so they get waterlogged. They're quite thin, so maybe it doesn't take that long. All right, so the process of adding botanicals is really complicated. You have to, no, I'm just kidding. You literally just put it in and let it go. Nothing serious about it. Now, botanicals have really awesome properties that are very beneficial for aquariums. They say that they have some antibacterial properties, so they can help keep your fish and shrimp safe or healthier for longer. They turn into food. So for shrimp, snails, as these break down, they'll add to the food cycle. Okay, now for the twigs. Please, please don't float. Oh, nice. They're not floating. I really like that. I like that we can still see the pebbles. That'll be great. And as the fish and all that swim around, the leaf litter will kind of just find its own place. But I'm liking that. That's awesome. All right, so it's been again another couple of days since we added the botanicals to the shallow aquarium. Since then, we've gone ahead and done a 100%, well, close to 100% water change, just to get some of that cloudiness that you first get out of there. The filter also had some beneficial bacteria that's already been colonized on the media there, so some of it has probably died off, which gives you that white, cloudy look. Sometimes when you first set up an aquarium with established media. We've also gone ahead and tested the water and we're good to go. And we have added beneficial bacteria as well, which we're going to keep doing for the next 3 to 4 days. We're also going to be testing the water every single day to make sure that there's no ammonia spike, because with media that's already cycled, you can add fish right away. But you still need to monitor the water and make sure there's no ammonia spikes, because if so, you just do a water change to get rid of it. But yeah, I've done this before with several aquariums. I did it with this one. I've done it with my previous ones, using pre-cycled media to establish the aquarium quickly, adding fish, and then just maintaining the levels correctly so that there's no ammonia spike. So what we're going to do now is we're actually going to move in these golden white cloud mountain minnows into this setup. You'll notice that there's no heater in this, so the water does get cooler, which they're going to absolutely enjoy. In this one, I do have to keep it at the high end of their threshold because of the other fish. So for now, we're going to move them in here, and we'll see how they enjoy it. So let's go ahead and catch them, which is probably easier said than done. All right, so that didn't take as long as I thought it would. We're going to go ahead and float acclimate them. Probably for a good half hour or so. We can check the temperature. So for example, right now this one, it's at 20, just a touch over 20, 23, 18. So yeah, we're gonna go ahead and float acclimate them for half an hour, 45 minutes. And once the temperature inside of the cup matches what's out there, because right now this one is 22 and a half, then we'll go ahead and put them in. All right, so I've gone ahead and tested the water temperature and it's all matching, so we're good to let them go. Really excited about this. It looks so good in here. It looks like there's a good amount of flow too, which is great. You never know with the hang-on back filters sometimes on the long side of the aquarium, but it looks like it's great. Oh, let's take a look. So it's going to take them a minute to color right back up. But so far they're doing well. That one back there is hanging out by the grass. They'll start exploring soon enough. But I think they're going to look great in here. I don't know if I'm going to keep them in here permanently. It's very possible I may move them to my outdoor pond in the summer, which is where they normally go in the summer. But I had them, there was room. This is a good layout for them. It frees up some of the space in the cube. So I'm really excited to have them in here. Okay, they're exploring a bit more. Oh, they look so great. I'm having a hard time focusing with the camera though. There we go, that's all of them. It'll be great once all these plants are high above the rocks and they'll be able to swim through it. Eventually, I'm hoping that the stem plant, I forget the name already, grows out of water. That'd be really awesome. But yeah, I'm really happy how this is turning out. It took a while, but there it is. The 60 centimeter Western Canadian Biotope inspired shallow aquascape. Again, we used green plants to mimic a marshy area. We have some botanicals and leaf litter, twigs and things like that, which will help get some of that mulmy effect without it being too harsh. We have some beautiful golden white cloud minnows. Obviously I can't get the local fish. I can't take them from the river from where they are, or the streams and the fisheries. And again, this might not be the final fish in here. I might switch it out for something else, but for right now, they're an excellent cold water fish that will do really great in this aquarium. I'm really, really happy how it turned out. We were able to add them right away because we have cycled media from this aquarium here. And also we're going to be testing the water daily to make sure there's no ammonia spikes and doing water changes as necessary. We're also going to be adding beneficial bacteria for the first 3 to 5 days or so. And that should get the system going. And then after that, it's just watching the plants grow. I may add CO2, unlikely though. I like the slow growth of a low-tech aquarium and seeing how these plants adjust. But obviously if the plants are not doing great and they could benefit from CO2, I'll see if I can get that added in there. Eventually I do want to replace the hang-on back filter with a canister filter, just for aesthetics, because where I sit is actually on this side, my desk is over there, and I'd like to be able to see the aquarium from the long side, which unfortunately I can't because that filter is there. I did have it on the back on this side, but unfortunately just that the flow wasn't really great. So not that eventually once it's established, the filter is mostly going to be there for cycling water and mechanical filtration, since everything will be jam-packed with beneficial bacteria, especially thanks to the deep sand that we have, plus what do we have? Crushed lava rock, the crushed lava rock that's in there as well. Overall, I'm really happy with it. I hope you enjoyed it. Leave a comment down below of what your thoughts are, maybe what you would do differently, what you'd like to see in the future. And also, if you have any questions, feel free to put them down there. I'm happy to answer what I can. I'm no expert, but I love this hobby, and whatever I can share, I'm happy to do so. Of course, go ahead and subscribe. We do have another 60 centimeter aquarium that we have to set up, and hopefully that one will be sooner rather than later. Thanks again for tagging along for this build, and we'll see you on the next one. Take care.